Is Miss Kennedy here? Is she taking notes? Okay. We're gonna call this meeting to order. Roll call, please. Ms. Funderburg,
I'm sorry, I ran to get my earphones here.
Ms. Piles,
Present.
Ms. Beard,
Here.
Ms. Terrell, Ms. Wester, Ms. Kennard, Ms. Kennard,
Hello, how are you?
Ms. Kennard present. Mr. Martell,
Present.
we have a quorum. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to move into the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. Item A, to approve the minutes of the Board of Education of the regular meetings of, June 6, 2020, June 22nd, 2020, study session on June 25th, 2020, and special board meeting on June 29th, 2020. Item B, the approval of the bills for payment is submitted by our Director of Business and Operations in the amount of $491,561.11. Item C, to approve the personnel actions is submitted by Human Resources, Belinda Hicks, Director of Special Ed and Grants, effective July 14th, 2020, and retirement, Todd Marlette, who was our adult education manager, and that is effective June 26, 2020, and Judy Fretner, Secretary 2 at Romulus High, effective August 1st. Layoffs of Ms. Jameson, Dawn Jameson, our Chief Communications Officer, effective July 1st, and Mark Woodson, Athletic Director, effective July 1st. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. President, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented, with the removal of the special ed director recommendation, just for purposes of discussion. I have some questions.
Okay,
Second,
so
Kennard.
moved by Ms. Childs, second by Kennard. So
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
yes, ma'am.
The resignation there's a resignation. It kind of went
Oh,
to the
my
back.
apologies. Thank you so
I
much.
just wanted to bring it to your attention, sir.
No, thank you. Miss Nelson, Jamie Nelson, our early college coordinator at RHS, effective August 1st, and she will be missed. So we are going to start that over. Ms. Childs, if you want to make your motion again, please.
Yes, I make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, with removing the HR recommendation hire for a special ed director for purposes of discussion.
Moved by Ms.
Second, Kennard.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Piles, seconded by Ms. Kennard. And again, the special ed will be removed to the first item under the superintendent. If there's no discussion, we will do a roll call, please.
Piles,
Yes.
Kennard, Terrell,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Thunderbird,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Martell,
Yes.
passed unanimously. It passed unanimously, Mr. Martell.
Thank you, Ms. Wester. We will now move into the student spotlight portion of the agenda. Mr. Cooper, if you could, please.
Okay, I am setting up that presentation right now. If you give me 1 second to share that screen. Okay. So because our students are out of school now, this is summertime, we did want to highlight some of our early college students' accomplishments, and indeed they are accomplishments, and part of the reason why Ms. Nelson will be missed is because she has definitely built this program and nurtured our children to great success. So I will just kind of click through this. So the fall 2017 cohort, these are the students, this is when the students entered the program, and they just graduated 2020. So they began in 2017 and they just graduated 2020. Okay, and these are all the students who are on track for their associate's degree. And so what you will see here, for example, you will see the college that the student has been accepted to, and the name of the student, what their associate's degree is in, what their GPA is, and how many credits that they have earned. When you look at the additional accomplishments, you will see Phi Theta Kappa, which is the honor society, the International Honor Society for 2-year colleges. Magna cum laude is our students who have achieved a 3.5 to a 3.75. And MTA means these are the students who completed the requirements so that their credits would transfer. So you will see that as we go along. So we had one student attending Central Michigan University. I'm not going to read the students' names, but I want you to, let me go back. Sorry, that was too quick. Go back. Give me a second. I do want to read their names. Let me go back. I want to read their names. These are too great an accomplishment. Alondra Vargas Garcia, Associate in Arts, 3.67 GPA, 62 credits earned. I'll go faster on the rest of them. For Concordia University, we have Kara Ward, an Associate in Arts degree, 3.25, 60 credits earned. Attending Eastern Michigan University, Jalisha Hall, Diamond Jones, Kayla Leonard, Shazania Nicholson, and Aderica Ward. You can see that their GPAs here, and you can see their additional accomplishments. These are all students who have come through our program. We have one student who obtained an electrical apprenticeship, Nicholas Terry, 3.78, 61 credits earned. Our Michigan State University students, Yasmin Abbas, Trinity Brim, Kanaya Burks, Mohammed Sise, and Matthew Drake. You see their GPAs here, their associate's degrees, and their credits earned, and additional accomplishments. And I have to say that Ms. Nelson truly nurtured these students, and she truly encouraged them to strive to be their very best. This is an excellent program. More Michigan State University students: Alan Henderson, Tondra McSween, Jordan Melchor, and Erica Ward. Okay, a few more. We have one student, Jacqueline Garcia, Associates in Science degree, 3.32 GPA, 65 credits. Wherever she goes, she will be successful. University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Angel Bustamante, Martin Schneider, Shelby Sloan. You see their GPAs here. You see the credits earned. These students also received AP credit in addition to the other credits. And these are, well, you can see, are 3.75 to 4.0 students, summa cum laude. University of Michigan, Dearborn, Janae Smith, 3.67 GPA, 67 credits earned. Wayne State University students: Anthony Fortson, Alan Garcia, Dylan Glenn, Tiana Hale, Malaya King. Final GPAs, credits earned, additional accomplishments. Okay. That is the end of the presentation. We just wanted to congratulate our students again. We just wanted to share with our community the great things that our students are doing over there at RHS in conjunction with their Wayne County Community College degrees. So we just wanted to give all of our students again a great big congratulations, class of 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett. And once again, I'd like to salute our students just with a hand, as we say in the church, hand clap of praise. We're going to move into the next portion of the agenda, which is the public comment for agenda items only. If there's any member of the public that would like to speak at this time, it is limited to agenda items only in 3 minutes. If you'd like to speak, the floor is open. Please unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and the floor is yours. And we'll leave the floor open for just a few more moments. So if there's anybody, again, that would like to, from the public, that would like to address the board at this time regarding agenda items only. Okay, if not, we're going to move into the report of the superintendent. There is another public comment at the end of the meeting, which will be an open public comment. At this point in time, I will turn the floor over back to Ms. Crockett for the report of the superintendent.
Really quickly, Ms. Kennedy, we have been trying to get in contact with the Gobblers Tournament gentleman. Did we ever get him? I'll see if Ms. Kennedy got him.
Actually, no, I've left messages on the phone number that's listed on the document.
Is he here?
He's
They
here.
have joined the meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm here.
Sir. Okay, go ahead.
Bruce Green with Romulus Southeast Michigan Fire Wrestling. Just trying to find out where we can get building usage for the Gobbler in the fall. It's the AAU wrestling tournament we held last year. We're doing our second annual if we can do this.
So we did receive your information, and so if you would just like to remind the board of what exactly the tournament is, and if it's a fundraiser, and what it consists of, and how you plan to work within the COVID guidelines. Of course, we always have to ask those questions.
AAU is still working out the details of that. I don't have a lot of information to give on it yet, but I know we're going to be working under the guidelines as needed between what they need and what you guys need. It is a fundraiser tournament we're doing it 3 weeks earlier this year so that we can have the high school wrestlers involved into it. Last year we weren't able to because of MHSAA rulings. So we're moved it up a little bit. And this year we're doing it honoring the veterans also. And I'm working with the city, getting a hold of the veterans in the city and organizations so we can do something good for them as far as representing them.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Green, I want to thank you and Mr. Hines for the work you do within our school district and also community through your wrestling program, making the program available to students in our district and the community, but also for organizing tournaments and bringing them to our high school to host, to give us that visibility. And also there's always a social benefit that you tie in that I very much appreciate, whether it's food or now we're going to highlight veterans, but also I do want to make sure that our stakeholders know that as donation or as, the price of admission, how you use that money to buy mats and uniforms and equipment that our wrestling program needs. So as you bring this to us, it's a good thing, but then the money generated actually comes back and provides uniforms and much needed equipment for our students. So thank you for your involvement in the wrestling program, but all the many layers of that you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem at all. Help speak on the money part of it. We are in the process of getting our nonprofit status. I'm working with the leadership of the Romulus Flyers, John Wester, and I've got some parents helping me. And we're doing outside donation fundraising stuff for that because it's a little expensive. But we're trying to get our 501c just so we can get more involvement from this local community for funding and stuff like that for the program. And we are a nonprofit at this point anyway. Everything we make goes right back into the program. I hope that kind of helps you understand a little better.
So this was an action item for the last board meeting.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Funderburg,
Yeah.
please.
if I may, I would like to read the motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the request for building use at Romulus High School Gym for Gobbler Classic Tournament on November 8th, 2020, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. by Romulus SEMF.
Support.
Rationale is this is a program that will benefit our students in wrestling, and budget implications is SEMF will pay for custodial and security.
Support that. What are the ages, the grade levels? Is that in the, I did see the paperwork.
Moved by Ms. Funderburg, supported by Ms. Piles. Discussion, please.
The grade levels for this, I'm sorry.
I don't think I have it on there. I can't remember. It's been a minute, but it's from basically 6 years old up through high school age.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Real quick, I'd like to just, commend Mr. Green and the SMEF on the work they've done with our wrestling program, kind of a farm team to our school program.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. I also appreciate and pouring into the program financially with helping the kids to get their uniforms and to get their mats. And I know the school had something to do with that as well as the district. But I just want to make sure moving forward that we're fair across the board as to what tier we recognize that when we examine these usage forms, because I know that there's different tiers for different level of different level of I don't know what the right word would be, participation within the, or for the children, etc. Whether it's, I mean, I know and forgive me for lack of words right now, but I know that there's different level of usage fees for different programs as they relate to, whether it's free for the children, whether they get back to the community, things of this nature. And I just want to make sure we're fair across the board, so there's never any issues. The other issue is, will this be contingent based upon where we're at with either the MISHA, and also, will this be passed contingent on whether school usage, school is open, period. So these are just things for the board to consider.
Right.
So, Ms. Crockett, and I'm not sure, this might be like a building facilitation type thing, but maybe a month in, could we kind of bring an update to the board on like checks to kind of see where we are health-wise, make sure that there haven't been any warnings or movements in the phases that Michigan is going through for COVID-19. And then that way we can kind of keep them in the loop as well, as far as their planning goes.
Absolutely. And because we have to comply with safety standards regardless. So we will continue. It will have to be a constant update regardless of where we are with that.
Okay, because I just know we just got an emergency from alert on our phones about wearing masks. So
Right.
Just want to make sure that we're following the guidelines, and I don't want them to put a lot of money into a program that they may not be able to have. So
yeah.
Mr.
Totally
President.
understandable.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I did mention, well, first of all, I too appreciate the work that's been put into the program. I did attend last year, and the inspiration that the students receive from being able to participate in this particular sport, it can't be matched. And so I congratulate you for bringing forth something that is enhancing students in the district. And I did ask in our last meeting about the updates to our contracts or facility use contract as it relates to COVID and the response that the school district might have to take if it should turn out that we are able to pass this tonight. Our responsibility, if there's any liability based on that. And so I don't know if that has been done, if it was looked at.
So more than changing the contracts, it really has more to do with where we are in the phases and what the sports requirements and qualifications are, and what the buildings and safety requirements are. So it's to a large degree a buildings and maintenance question and a safety question, more so than our building usage, if that makes sense.
So my concern was there's a facility usage form that's filled out when using the school.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not, I don't believe there's any language that address the fact that based on the stages that we are in, as it relates to the pandemic, we might have to not allow the event to take place, even if we voted for it, and to assure that the district is not held liable for any promotional material that may have been sent out. And I did ask if we could have, or Mr. President did indicate that we would reach out to our council to get verbiage to be added to that contract so that this is in place. And so that is my question, was that taken care of?
Who's going to do that?
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I think that would still fall under the guidelines to if there was a school function that
Yeah.
came up and we had to use the facility, whoever was renting the building at that time, our things at the school district would override it. So if there's a health concern as it relates to COVID, if it comes down the line that we can't do anything, if we have to cancel it, we're canceling it.
Right. How
Yeah,
about,
Right.
maybe-
I understand what you're saying, but.
Yeah. maybe, I'll get with the policy committee. Does that make sense? To establish whether we want to write some, I mean, it really doesn't, same thing that you're saying, we have to abide by, the state guidelines, we have to abide
That's
by.
state law.
Right.
Yeah.
That overrules anything that goes on. State law says we got to close down. You can't have anything inside. If more than 50 people, we
Right.
have to shut it down.
Right. So,
If I may
so
interject.
documentation wise, we would provide that, whatever that current, executive order language is to establish what we can and can't do.
Mhm.
If I might interject, we're just looking to see if we can get, because we want to start promoting it. We totally understand where the school board is and the state. It's the world we live in right now is very crazy. So we just want to be able to get at least a tentative approval so we can move forward with promotional things. But as far as any liabilities and that we totally understand where that's all at.
Right.
It's
Mr.
just, it is what it
President.
is.
Mr.
Yes,
President,
ma'am.
this is Kennard.
Yes, ma'am.
May I speak? Okay. I agree with, and listening what everyone is saying, and I understand what Mr. Green is saying, and, at this point where we're trying to vote on whether they can have this pertaining that is within the guidelines of the district not being liable for any other circumstances beyond what we approve, and knowing what the COVID phases and stages are that's mandated by the state. And I also understand what our trustee Terrell is saying as well. And as part of being on the policy committee, maybe perhaps that we should have some type of conversation pertaining to probably looking at and seeing if some sort of language could be put into the contract where, even though we understand this, we understand it. We understand what we're hearing and seeing, but to make sure that it's something that we should have a solid response to or action or can convey and communicate it. So I agree with the policy committee probably sitting down and having a conversation where it shouldn't adhere to us voting or voting on this tonight, but for the policy committee to sit down, look at it, have a conversation with our interim superintendent, and then come back to the board with some type of statement of recommendation after our findings.
Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Martell, this is Mrs. Beard. I believe that we can still go forward with the action, and then that we can always forward that wording on to the wrestling team after the policy committee looks at it. I believe state law is going to supersede anything that we put in our policy manual regardless. So it might be just a sentence of putting in there that all state laws will be abided by.
All right.
And this is Ms. Kennard. I concur.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Beard,
Yes.
Funderburg,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles,
Yes.
Webster, yes. Martell,
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your commitment to our students and our community.
Thank you for
we're
the
gonna-
support you give us.
We're going to move forward at this time. Miss Crockett, the employment matter of special ed and grants, which was removed, Can we address that before we move forward into the curriculum planning?
Okay.
It was removed from the consent agenda for recollection.
Yes, I removed it, simply, not that I oppose this hire. First, I want to say that I am so glad that we are hiring a special ed director, and I'm excited about Dr. Hicks joining our district and looking forward to her being with us. I removed it because I had some questions, and I just got the contract today, so I apologize for bringing this up now. But I noticed that the posting read 230 days, but this contract states 225 days. So I just wanted to know why those were changed. And then my other question is the dates of the contract. Well, a couple things. Let me back up. The motion reads effective tomorrow, July 14th, but the contract reads a start date of July 27th. So I was just wondering when the special ed director will start. Will they follow the same calendar as the previous director? And then my third question is just the dates on the contract itself. Should we have a start date of 7/27/2020 through 6/24, but shouldn't that follow like the calendar year and end 7? If it starts 7/27 this year, it would end 7/26 next year.
No, it would still end 6/30, the end of the fiscal year, the school year.
Also, Debbie, the contract does read, starts on July 14th.
Okay, so
That's for the actual hire, so that we're not waiting until the beginning of that contract for Ms. Hicks. And I'm gonna let Elena. This is really Elena's lane, but because she's willing to come in and get started, meeting with staff. We have staff that need to be hired. And so it really is the sooner the better. If we wait until August to begin recruiting, especially special education staff, we just put ourselves at a disadvantage. So we're thankful that she is available to begin coming in. And Elena, I will let you take it from there.
Yeah. So the change in the contract language, first of all, from the 230 to the 225, was really a matter of semantics that we explained to her. It was 11-month position. But if you go through and try to come up with the 20 days off for the 11-month position, you can't get the 11-month position with the 230-day contract in there. So, we're really just trying to negotiate the best we can with her so that we can use her for the summer, but she still has her summer off per se. And as Nicole had mentioned earlier, we're not trying to manipulate her entire summer. I think she had intended to try to have a couple of weeks off because she is wrapping up her current position. But we do need her to help facilitate the onboarding and the hiring of several new special ed positions. And she has agreed to do that. And I think that we have a plan that we are discussing now on how we can do a bit of a trade-off for days that she would work versus days that she could have off at another time. So,
okay.
Just so we can accommodate both parties.
Okay, so that answers my question as well. So she will the plan is for Dr. Hicks to come in early, and there will be a trade-off. Other days that she would have worked, she will not work. So we will only pay the contract price and not a stipend for an early start. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
There any additional discussion before we approve this item or vote on this item, excuse me.
I did have one question. And so I guess one of the things that I've been wanting, and I think the other board members have kind of mentioned it, is as we have contracts that come up for a yearly renewal, that they be brought before the board at a certain time of year. So then that way, and not only that their contract be brought up, but that it also be brought up with their evaluation information, that an evaluation has been done on this employee. And this is the reason why we are renewing or extending the 1 year for this contract. So I think that that's just to really kind of get back into some norms of business, of how we do things at central office. I know we've had some really high turnaround. And so I'd like to definitely see some of those things kind of come back as we're moving forward and building our team again. And thank you for, I was hearing it and I was saying to myself, she's doing us a favor coming early. So thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm assuming then that sometime in July, you'll be wanting to see a lot of those contract renewals. That's how you're going to want to see that, is in July?
Actually, it would be before July, because July 1 usually for most of our contracts is when they start. So I think it probably, and it depends on the language, because some have 60 days, some have 30 days as far as a renewal. So I'm thinking probably April.
April.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Elena, we may have to run that by legal, because I know sometimes the non-renewal is 30 days, but a notice of non-renewal is 90 days, depending on the contract. So like to have that window, we would need to see, the board would need to review the contracts probably in March so that we hit the 90-day.
Okay.
And then if other things are coming up on the agenda, we're not cramming everything into one meeting.
All right.
And it's also a nice way to recognize our staff each year too.
Okay.
If there's no additional discussion, can we have a roll call, please? I'm sorry, there's not even a motion on the floor. Is there a motion on the floor, Ms. Piles?
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm pulling it up. I move that the Board of Education accept the employment of Belinda Hicks, Director of Special Education and Grants for Romulus Community Schools, effective July 14th, 2020. And that is to fill the vacancy of the previous administrator.
Support.
Moved by Ms. Piles, supported by Ms. Funderburg. If there's no further discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Piles,
Yes.
Funderburg,
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Terrell,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Wester, yes, Markel.
Yes, motion approved. The next item of business is item 1. It's a FYI. Ms. Crockett.
Okay, I will get through this quickly. I will work backwards. So I'm going to begin with just a reminder that the August 4th primary election will be held at Hale Creek, Barth Elementary, Romulus Elementary, and Romulus Middle Schools. We have special COVID guidelines now with everything. So the city has agreed to pay for additional cleaning and additional setup, so that we can make sure that that the voters stay safe. So that's just an FYI that will still be taking place at those 4 locations, and that we will have special guidelines, special safety guidelines, which we understand now also includes masks. So that's something else that they're going to have to make sure that when people come in that they have masks on, as long as that is the requirement. Working backwards, task forces, we have 3 task forces, volunteers from teachers who are giving us some of their time off, as well as some board members are part of the enrollment committee. So we have an enrollment committee task force here, let me find the actual language. Give me one second. So for the enrollment committee, this task force will brainstorm and engage in recruitment efforts. They will assist the district in making sure that we have seamless processes from the first phone call or web entry to receiving a room assignment or class schedule. They will also collaborate on creative ways to make our new families feel welcomed and right at home. So we have a meeting with the enrollment committee. I believe it's this Wednesday. The other committee is the communications committee. This task force, it's a task force, excuse me. The communications task force will support the district in using social media, web posts, ads, and other methods to spread the word on news and events happening within the Romulus Community Schools. They will collaborate and share points of pride within our community and with our community. And so that task force will be meeting this week as well. And we're just excited that we have, that our community is coming together to celebrate our schools and to share what it is that our points of pride. And then the last the last task force is our community outreach task force. Right now, the community outreach task force is focusing on making sure that our students have internet. So we have Operation Internet, and I will pull up that graphic really quickly. So what we have to do at this point, because we are moving into closer to the beginning of the school year, we understand that depending on what phase we are in, there's a probability, or a possibility, I should say, hopefully not a probability, but there's a possibility that if we are in phases 1, 2, or 3, then face-to-face learning is canceled, and therefore our students must return to learning at home. While this is not ideal, if it becomes necessary, it is what it is. Our district will be supplying devices for all of our students from pre-K through 12th grade. So if our students need devices, they will have them. And so the concern from there goes to if they have devices, but they do not have internet. So we are working to make sure we're reaching out to families who were missed during the beginning. When I say missed, meaning for whatever reason, they did not respond to the learning, or our teachers tried to call them, teachers tried to email, and we have not heard from them. We are putting forth greater efforts to reach those students, because we have to make sure that they have internet in order to learn. And so what you will see beginning to be circulated is just an Operation Internet with a phone number. They will call Miss Kennedy. I can share this with you now. Okay. Okay. So this will be going out with the continuing outbreaks of COVID-19 in Michigan. Romulus Community Schools would like to ensure that all of our students have access to internet in the event that all schools are required to move to a distance learning model during the 2020-2021 school year. And so what we are doing is we're going to have a call center on next Wednesday at Romulus Elementary School. This will go out to a district-wide email. I'm just giving it to you now. We're going to have a call center to reach out to those families to find out, to make sure that they have what they need, because our kids have to have internet. Students who we are unable to reach via email, via text message, via phone call, the following Wednesday, we will have, we'll just call it door-to-door service, where we will attempt to find those students. We'll just go door to door and make sure that they're okay, and find out what it is that they need, because we can't not afford to leave any child behind. This is in collaboration with the United Way. I was able to apply for a United Way grant, I don't know, March, April, and we did receive that grant. So we are working to, between Comcast, hotspots, whatever it is that we have to do if our students are completely unable to obtain internet on their own, we are going to find out what we can do as a district to support that. And then moving back, and also, if we also have to filter it, meaning we have to make sure that it's safe. So it's not that we can just offer wide open internet. It also has to be internet that is safe for student use. So that's another part of that. And then, so the last item, moving back to curriculum planning, is, and it's really more back to school planning than curriculum planning. Curriculum is only a part of this plan. We received on Friday, I believe, a template for the learning plan that has to be approved pretty much within the next month by the state of Michigan for our back to school programming. And so our families are going to see several surveys because we need their input, and we need to know what works for them and what it is that they need. So our families are going to begin receiving surveys from us while we continue to plan both in-school learning as well as online only learning for those parents who are choosing that option. So we will have both. And so these are just, this is the work that we're doing tomorrow and Wednesday. I have meetings all day with Wayne County, working through these plans. We had a meeting this morning talking about safety protocol, how often classrooms have to be cleaned. Classrooms have to be cleaned between every time there is a transfer of classes. Every time they pass to the next class, the classroom has to be cleaned. So this is a requirement. This is not a suggestion. It's a requirement that common areas have to be wiped down at least every 4 hours, at least. So that's light switches, that's bathrooms. And that's just 2 of the, how many pages are in that document? 63 pages. So we have a lot of planning to do while making sure that we are taking care of our children, taking care of our teachers, and working through this plan. So we have a lot of, a lot of work to do and a lot of planning to do to support our stakeholders. So that is my report. Any questions?
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am. Floor is yours.
I do have a couple questions. First off, during our last meeting, there was a discussion of that the entire community, as well as the board, would be responsible for recruitment, and how it's something that each person needs to participate in, and then also we should be accountable for individually reaching out to individuals. There was no mention of a task force being established, and I would like to know who's on the task force, and even more so the focus in which that task force is established. With all of the committees that have been established as board members, we had been informed in times past that there are 3 committees that I'm aware of. But as these things develop, it would be nice as a board member, so especially since it would involve developing the community and the district in recruitment, that we were all informed of that information. So if at all possible, I would like a copy of what the focus is, and then also who is on that task force.
Okay, well, I can just share again. I'm not sure so you're saying you were aware of the task forces, but you'd like to just be updated on what's happening?
I wasn't aware that there was a task force being established. It was mentioned that we would be engaging in recruitment of students, but there was no mention of establishing a task force that included board members. And I would like a copy of what the focus is that went out. And I would also like to know who is on that task force.
Okay.
If I-
Go
if
ahead.
I may for a minute.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. The difference between this and this is not a board committee per se. Is it is a district task force, so it's not limited to board members. So
Right.
that's why it's not. There wasn't something that I've asked for it several times for us to create some sort of task force or committee, but this isn't limited to board members. It's more like the sinking fund committee where there's district wide. So you can go ahead, Ms. Crocker. Sorry.
But if I may, please, I understand that it's task force would be different, but how do you know to even participate in the task force if that hasn't been communicated that a task force has been established?
So
if it's not just limited to board members, what if someone on the board wants to participate in it and we haven't been informed? We're just now hearing about it. As my point.
Okay, so I sent that out via entire district email about the task forces, and so everybody signed up. There was a form included in that email, and so the sign up was within that form. I can resend that to you, no problem.
I'm looking in my email. I don't have that, so yes, I would appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, that's how everybody, the people who signed up that way. So it was sent out to the entire district. I can find what date if that helps. Or I can just resend it. I'll find it and just resend it. Let me see if I can find, give me 1 second. Let's see. This would have gone out.
May 28th.
May
28th.
Thank you, because it didn't even, I don't know, for whatever reason, it didn't show up in mine, but I know I sent it. And it has the link to the form in it. But I'll find, I can resend it whenever.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You all found it. If you could resend it, then I'll find it. You said May 28th?
I just sent it.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And I'm sorry. Also, I just want to commend you for the addressing the needs of the district where it comes to depending on what phase we're in and preparing that our students would also have the internet, use of internet. So no matter where they are, whether or not we're in phase 3, phase 2, 3, or 4, that they would have access. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So this is Kennard, Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, so as I understand, you're going to be sending to the board a list of who is participating in each one of these task force, and is that what I understand?
Yeah, it's just something else that we have access to. That was in a different email, but there's a back when this COVID thing started, there was a spreadsheet called RCS District Updates, and so all three task forces are in that same document. Instead of sending out a whole bunch of different things, we just kept it to that one document so that everybody can see what the ideas are for each task force. So I can resend that as well. That was in a different email, but I can resend that as well. And then you can just see the whole spreadsheet, and you can see all three task forces and their progress.
So on each one of these task force, is there a limit in terms of who could be a part of it? I mean, is there a cutoff number, or is it ongoing? I mean, how is it determined who will be participating, even though you have the list now? Is this the ultimate final, or what is that? Or when they meet, they make all come up and develop norms? Well, I guess that's my question.
And that's the stage that we're in now. So we are just in the baby stages of it. This is not anything that's been done before. So this is something that we're developing around those goals. Each task force has its own goals. So we are working through the process of, and again, this is summer, so this was sent out to the district, and, not all teachers will always be able to participate. So the fact that they're volunteering to do this and to support the initiatives that the district is putting out, we're going to work with that.
Well, this is just my own personal opinion. I think that, first of all, it's a good thing. We should have task force as we look at certain factors of our district in terms of what we should be looking at for strategic planning and moving forward and developing. I know we can't imagine and do things all the time with the unknown. So therefore, that's the good purpose of why task force are developed. But at the same time, I also think that we as board members, we are residents of the city, and we took a charge into making sure we save and keep our district. And so if we should be on or should participate and volunteer at all times. There should be a board member on each one of these task force. I know it's not a board driven, but as a resident and representing and knowing what we stand for and looking for those types of initiatives, that we should have some form of support in this. And so, I'm thinking that as a resident, as a board member, that this is something that we should partake. Thank you.
We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crockett. If there's nothing further, we're going to move forward into the report of the Director of Business and Operations, Ms. Angela Rudolph. The floor is yours.
Okay, there are 2 action items in your packets for bids that we need your approval on. But prior to that, I'm just going to give an update of the bids that you don't have as of today. There's a new flooring project at Hale Creek that we'll be bringing to the next board meeting. This flooring we are attaching to some flooring that was already bid for the high school project. So there's not a need for us to go out for bid again. We can use the same vendor, but there is a need to redo the flooring at Hale Creek. So that'll be upcoming. And again, that is out of the sinking fund, which can only be used for building projects. The security bids were put out and have been secured and turned over to Human Resources to form a committee and evaluate. The maintenance bids have been put out and are back and will be evaluated tomorrow. And then the food service bid will probably be out for another month, but we are not operating food service until September. We are not doing summer school, so we are not providing food over the summer. And so that will probably be coming to you in August, early August. So the 2 the bids that are in your packet today that I need your approval on are the asbestos bid for the asbestos abatement bid for the cafeteria floors and the Hell Creek roof.
Ms. Rudolph, if I may interject briefly, before we move into those two action items, are there any board member questions regarding the rundown of the bid updates? I know I had received a couple inquiries from the public regarding food service, as well as 64, as well as whether 64 includes paras as well.
Local 64 is out. So Local 64 is out. Paras are not a part of the Local 64 union.
Okay, what about the food service? My only issue is I want to make sure that I understand we're not doing summer, which I guess is kind of problematic for me in itself. But my only issue is I don't want the new, if it is a new food service company, to come in with 10 days to go and we crash land like we did last year. So I want to make sure that, this was voted on in March, and I know we've been extremely busy, but I want to make sure that this gets out timely and selected timely, give them enough time to get acclimated. That's it.
I understand that. And you're absolutely right. We have been extremely busy, not only with other bids, but with central office staffing and negotiations. And although we're human and we can only do so many things at a time. So,
Ms. Rudolph, I have a question on that. When you say the food service will be out for another month, is that how long the bid will be out, or is that when it's going out? Is it still going out this week?
It's going out this week,
Okay.
but the entire process from beginning to end takes no less than 3 weeks.
Okay.
Which puts us into August.
Okay.
And it's not our process. It's a federal process.
Sure.
And the reason why we are not running food service over the summer has nothing to do with the bid. We could have extended to work over the summer, but we did not have staffing due to COVID of enough people who were available and willing to work because of COVID. So there are people who are at risk. A lot of those people work in departments such as food service, and under the governor's orders, they do have the right to opt out.
I would like to, when we put this out for bid, one thing I would like the committee to consider and also communicate to those companies that submit a bid is, I understand the real seriousness of this pandemic, and there are people who cannot work and need to stay home, and that is their right, and they have to do what is best for them individually and for their families. However, our children need to be fed. So in the event that our next company, we don't know what is in store for us with this pandemic, but I do want to make certain that whoever we enter into a contract with for the upcoming school year, that if they have employees who cannot work, that they be a company that can hire more employees so that we can still provide food and our students are fed. Because I know we weren't able to have our food program this summer because there wasn't enough staffing. But I know that the same, other districts, their food service companies have staffing. So I just want to make sure that we get a company that can properly staff to meet our student needs.
And like that, this company also, the district, our district, that is the issue.
I'm sorry, Angela, could you say that again? Your speaker was breaking up.
So this company as well is operating summer food service in other districts because it so happened that those districts they had a different mix of staffing than what we have here at Romulus.
This is Kennard for Rudolph. Help me to understand. Are you saying that there was inadequate staffing? Was it on behalf of the vendor, or was it the inadequate staffing on behalf of the school district?
This is not our staff. The staff works for the vendor. They are the staff that we have had over the years, but it is just because of this COVID situation that people want to be safe, and they're at risk, and so across the state, it's difficult to get staff for certain positions. We've had that situation in other areas of our district as well.
If I may, Ms. Kennard, normally
Yes.
Our food service staff is a lot of times are retired individuals, senior citizens in our community. They're lunch moms or cafeteria staff. And so a lot of like she said, they're at risk. And so those are normally kind of the individuals who have been taking those types of positions. So it just,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Funderburg. That was my question for clarification, because I was thinking if it's staffing from a vendor that was inadequate, then we're talking a whole different ball game. Because when you hire a vendor to provide services for any organization, that is their responsibility, and they should be complying to what our needs are. And so that's why I asked that question. And now that I have the clarification, those are workers who are, the districts that we have who are coming from that, source, from the source of employment and whatever. So there's some other things that's coming across my mind that I don't want to say right now, but I think, thank you for clarifying that, Ms. Thunderbird.
You're welcome. I did have one question for Ms. Rudolph, if I may. Just so I'm clear, with the floor project for Hell Creek, is that part of this asbestos one that we're voting on tonight for the award?
No.
Okay,
no,
so
you're not. You're not voting on the Hell Creek project tonight.
Okay.
You'll be doing that at the next.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't the same.
No, and it's the flooring. It's not the Hell Creek cafeteria. It is the Hell Creek classrooms.
Oh, okay.
Where the flooring is pretty bad. The carpeting is coming up from the floor, bubbling up. So that will be coming in your next board packet. The asbestos abatement tonight is specifically for the cafeteria flooring. It was a project that we started earlier in the year. We got interrupted. We found out there was asbestos there, but we got interrupted by COVID-19, was not allowed to have the vendors come into our buildings to even do a walkthrough. And so now that that's been lifted, we put it back out for bid so that we can remove the old flooring, get the asbestos out, and then put the new flooring down, which you guys have already approved.
Mr. President, can I please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a project that would be completed prior to school starting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I did want to say, because one of the board members had mentioned all the RFPs and somebody brought up the paras. I do want us to communicate very clearly on the record that paras are not being outsourced. I know some rumors went out through the community, and I was contacted by parents whose children have a para assigned to them, and they were very concerned about if we're going to outsource and a stranger helping them with different, bathroom needs and different. So I just want to reassure all of our families, all of our stakeholders that we are not outsourcing paras. We still have our paras. They are not part of the local 64. And then the other thing I wanted to clear up, Ms. Rudolph, if you could talk about, I've also received a lot of correspondence because people are seeing the work that's being done at our buildings. And also as we talk about flooring here, and there's confusion as to why are you guys making budget cuts and eliminating positions, but you're building a whole new high school. So could we just please clear up that we're not spending these as sinking fund dollars that our citizens passed the sinking fund millage, and these projects were already allocated, and we are not building at the expense of cutting positions.
Sure. You guys passed a 10-year sinking fund. There were a number of projects that were talked about with the community. The community ultimately voted yes. And so we levy that every year. It can only be used for building projects, things that are tangible, that will extend the life of buildings. Again, before this sinking fund, our buildings were in disrepair. And so a lot of these projects, a lot of things are happening at one time because we do have 3 buildings that are sister schools that are the same age. And so when a roof fails on one, a roof will fail on another one and another one because they're around the same age. The flooring is old, the paint is old. And so that is the only thing that we can use sinking fund dollars for. Sinking fund dollars are not general fund dollars. And so we are, grateful to the community for passing that sinking fund. And we are trying to do our due diligence, one project at a time, with getting these buildings back up and looking as they should be looking. And so that's what these projects are about.
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask Ms. Crockett if it be at all possible. I know you talked about the communication task force, but I know the city does a newsletter. Would it be possible if we could possibly ask them to maybe put some sort of update from the schools in that newsletter on the usage of the sinking funds and some of the construction projects that are happening throughout our district?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I again? And this
Yes,
is to Ms. Rudolph. I just wanted to add in the statement that I made earlier, and that is that now that we know that, we do have a situation with where in employment changes, and we're using our people for the food service, whatever, that we do also, I agree with Debbie, is that we have a backup plan. I mean, the backup plan should be communicated up front as we begin to look and pull these bids in. And so that they are aware of the fact, and so that we're facing with these types of critical needs, that is not a first time thing when the need is needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard. Ms. Rudolph, did you have anything further?
No, but there are 2 action items.
Okay, board members, if somebody wants to read the topic sheet, we can go
I
on
have
order
one up.
for the agenda.
I have one up. The award of asbestos abatement bid. Recommended motion, be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the attached bid award to Environmental Maintenance Engineers, Inc. for asbestos abatement. Rationale: the board previously approved bids for new flooring in the cafeterias at each school. As part of that project, we found asbestos under the current flooring that needs to be abated before the new flooring is installed. And the bid is awarded at $29,800 to Environmental Maintenance Engineers. And it's coming out of the cafeteria fund.
So moved by Ms. Funderburg.
Support.
Second by Kennard.
Okay, who was the support?
Wester.
Supported by Wester. Is there any discussion? Just out of curiosity, is this a union company, Miss Miss Rudolph?
Mr. Martell, this is a public board meeting on YouTube.
That question not permitted?
It's not relevant. It can't be relevant.
Okay. Okay, roll call, please.
Funderburg.
Yes.
Beard.
Yes.
Wester, yes. Kennard.
Yes.
Piles.
Yes.
Terrell.
Yes.
Martell.
No. Motion carries. Next action item, please.
We're gonna discuss it. I'll read it. I'll read it for purposes of discussion. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the bid award to Duralast for the re-roofing project at Hale Creek Elementary. The rationale is the roof at Hale Creek Elementary is at the end of life and leaking badly with each rain. Budget implication is $197,580.64. That is coming from the sinking fund.
Support Kennard.
Moved by Ms. Wester, supported by Ms. Kennard. Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, I'll ask a quick question. So this wasn't sent out to bid, correct, Ms. Rudolph?
The roof was not sent out to bid. We used the TIPS program, which is a national bid. So basically, they've already gone through all the steps and they have used the purchasing power of municipalities and school districts much larger than ours to negotiate a price. And so by using this program, we do not have to go out for bid.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're in compliance. Okay, if there's no,
I
yes,
just had one. So then that means that we get a considerable savings in participating in this program. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And my question is, Kennard, have we ever used this process before?
We used
But
this process on the roof at Barth.
Okay.
And Ms. Rudolph, wasn't that an emergency, I believe? Was that an emergency repair?
Yes, we have, right, yes.
And I would like to add, I remember when the roof was done at Barth and they came in February and they came in and they were diligent and they knocked that out and they did a good job. And so, and I know over at Barth that repair was much needed and they were very pleased with the work that was done and the timeliness of it. So, and to that regard, I'm glad that we're using the same company that we had a good experience with at Barth at Hale Creek.
is there anything further? Roll call, please.
Kennard.
Yes.
Terrell.
Yes.
Beard.
Yes.
Funderburg.
Yes.
Piles.
Yes.
Wester, yes. Martell.
No, motion carries. My apologies. We are going to move into the next portion of the agenda. the FYI from the Human Resource Director, Ms. Bond.
Okay, hi. I did have a sheet and I wasn't sure if David Cooper was able to load that. It was PowerPoint. Okay, yep. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I had sent a note to you regarding the expiration of our interim high school principal contract. I also want you to note that our interim superintendent's contract is also expired, and we will be discussing those at the next board meeting as to whether we want to renew or what do we want to do. And the reason why I bring that up is because of all of the changes that we have this school year with COVID procedures and practices that we have to start implementing, the educational piece that needs to happen, and just general decisions about who is going to be supporting these efforts, as well as certain things that are going on with CTE. It's important for us to have a high school principal that is going to be making these decisions. So I just wanted to point that out, and so there'll be some options. I mean, obviously you have option to renew, option to extend, or option to appoint. But I wanted to let you know that that is concerning, that we don't have a person that I can truly rely on to make decisions in regards to putting new assignments on different individuals at their schools. So, but what you wanted to really hear about was the next slide, which is open positions. We do have a lot of open positions, some that we just resolved last week, the job descriptions, and so they haven't actually even been posted yet. But I put the most important ones at the top. The early childhood program supervisor, we are in the interview stages right now, and we should have the interview process completed and someone selected by July 31st. Adult ed, we're looking at the same process. We are just in the stages of setting up those interviews. However, we're actually very close in how timing is going to get us through this next few weeks. And so we're very reliant on volunteers to assist in the interview process. The next position that we already have posted and we are receiving resumes for that is the Director of Integrated Technology position. So we'll be getting all of those positions, should be filled by the first week of August. Some are going to be the end of July, but the first week of August, I would like to have all of those jobs, a candidate in those positions. Is there any questions about that part?
I did have a question. Are these going to be positions that we're posting externally or internally? And also, just with the internal piece, do we have like, because I don't recall, maybe have like a policy or a norm in how we do that? Because just, I think when certain people are operating in certain capacities, do we have a way for promotion? I guess without, I guess I'll put it that way.
It's interesting that you've asked that question because I kind of ran that same thing around last week. And quite frankly, if there is a possibility of promotion, the challenge that we have is that currently these positions, some of the qualified candidates are covered by local. And in fairness to all parties, if you post a position, you have to post it and it is open in a way that allows everyone who is considered qualified to be able to apply. And then you have to consider those qualifications in the process of the review. So, you know, when we get the resumes, and they actually should be out there for approximately 7 to 10 days, then we'll look at everybody based on the qualifications that were stated in the job description and select who to interview at that time. So by virtue of the Department of Labor, I have to follow certain guidelines for every position that gets posted so that we make sure that in fairness, we're considering candidates based on their qualifications.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. It does, I'm sorry, but I didn't really answer the other part of your question. It doesn't mean that sometimes you can't just promote someone into a position. Sometimes you can do that. When you have a specialized candidate where you really don't have other qualified candidates, or your years of service with that candidate have been so positive that by virtue of their work record, you aren't going to consider any other candidates, then yes, you could just promote someone.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So the next positions, I put them all together because they're all special ed. All of these positions are the ones that we are going to be working with Dr. Hicks to get filled. And obviously, we need those candidates to be identified by the middle of August so that they're able to notify their districts on a fairly timely basis of their departure. And in some cases, we may be having to recruit them away from their current contract location, or if it's a contract that we currently have with them, we're going to try to buy them out of that contract and make them regular employees. And I have worked with local or the REA to come up with a solution with a letter of agreement so that we can hire specialized teaching positions with an incentive so that we can retain them away, acquire them away from the school that they're at or the location they're at, without them having to take a pay cut, and in such a way that we can offer them competitive pay. So I'm working on a letter of agreement that we had discussed from last Thursday, and we'll be putting that together so that we can recruit those specialized positions, which sort of leads into the next section of positions, which are also some specialized positions that we may struggle to find. The science teacher, the cosmetologist, and the barber are all positions that you're not only looking for someone who has the experience, you can find no problem for cosmetology and barber, but you can't necessarily find someone who has a teaching certificate. So that's where the specialty comes in. And I put nursing up there. I'm not sure if we're going to have that position. We're currently working with our current person in the position to see if there are some ways to work through the qualifications so that we don't have to go outside to find someone for that position. And those are all the positions we have that we don't have candidates. We do have an ELA position. As you recall, Jamie Nelson left from the last board meeting. We have found a way to internally post that job and be able to fill that position. And if we worked that out already with REA.
I had a couple of more questions.
Okay.
So I know with a lot of the social emotional learning that we're doing with our students, do you foresee us having to get more than one social worker? It pained us to even go down to really kind of the one that we had for the district. And with it, that particular piece of the psychological piece opening up to not only special education students, but now general ed students on top of COVID-19 and all that's going on. I wanted to know if that's something that we as a board need to really be kind of paying attention to and looking in our budget to see if, we need additional capacity in those areas.
There have been some agencies that have actually been soliciting to go around to schools to teach specific, they have specific programs related to COVID and getting back into your old lives, returning to your life after COVID. There's probably at least once a week now I'm receiving these solicitations to do training at the school districts. So if that's something that, I wish there was a way that we could have someone else provide this service rather than hire another teacher. Because if that, if hiring another teacher is the answer, hopefully the COVID situation, I don't want to see that be a forever thing that is with us. I'm hoping it's temporary. So if there is a way to be able to utilize one of these service providers and find out, what it would actually cost for us to use them on a temporary basis for 6 months even, if you're open to doing that, I would love to go forward with that.
Well, if I can interject really quickly, because of but budget is a part of the conversation, and understanding that at the same time we know that our students coming back from not having been in school for 6 months on top of dealing with a pandemic, on top of just social issues and the injustices, we know that we are going to have to work with our kids. And so on the curriculum side, we are looking at some options for social work type of work that can be supportive in all of our buildings to make sure that, and it would be a district-wide program so that everyone is accomplishing the same goals and using the same language. So that is what that is one of the things that we're working on the curriculum side. So it's just, it's compounded by, the other things here that need to be handled. And so this is all happening at the same time, but we are definitely working on it.
Ms. Crockett, this is Teresa Beard. Could we work with the as far as with some organizations for social workers to work in our schools? I don't know if it would be grants or even with maybe programs that they have in their organizations. I'm thinking like Starfish, Guidance Center, even our Teen Beaumont Health Center has social workers on staff. Are there things there that we can link up with that, that our students and families could take advantage of?
We are looking into all options, and part of the CARES Act fund will allow us to do some part of that. So these are all things that we are researching, processing, and working with, so that we can fit things in our budget, along with, buying the PPE and the cleaning materials and the cleaning supplies and all of those things at the same time. So these are all, yes, to answer your question, we're working on all of that.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Elena, when you have the social worker, the special ed positions, are those all positions that you're looking to have RCS? Like when we see social worker, are you looking to hire RCS social worker that will be part of the RCS staff ongoing? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So one thing I would like to say to that, and I understand that we have budget constraints, but we really need to also examine the cost of not having much needed resources. And social workers are needed, especially in our elementaries. They've been needed, and not because of a pandemic, but because they've already been needed. Now, the pandemic, whether it's short-lived or whether it's a way of life, the pandemic isn't going to create needs that require us to have a social worker. It's merely going to add to the needs that already exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so often we hear students get to the secondary levels and we're putting resource officers in the buildings. We're putting security in the buildings. We're putting, behavior programs in the buildings. And we'll often hear someone say, oh, wow, that student used to be so wonderful in elementary. What happened? Maybe what's happening is we're not meeting the needs of our young elementary students because we don't have social workers. And perhaps if we could really figure out how to get it, and I understand budget constraints, but we are geographically situated with universities and colleges around us. Perhaps we can reach out and see if, I know at one point there were universities who wanted to send social workers here to work with our students. We've already mentioned the Starfish and Guidance Center, but I would really like to encourage us as leaders in this district to not overlook how crucial it is that we bring social workers into our buildings and in our elementary schools. And then we might just find that we aren't behind the 8 ball and dealing with things on a secondary level as if they're behavior problems when they were really unmet needs in elementary school.
Agree. We are actually the elementary level is what we're focusing on right now.
Thank you.
Are there any
Mr.
additional
President.
questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, this is Ms. Kennard. I just want to make a comment to the fact that with some of these programs at the university level, they have it where, just as you do when you're going through for your educational studies, that you do intern as part of their curriculum. And so it's a possibility that we could tap into that arena where you can have interns who could support some of the needs in terms of what we're needing, especially in the special educational area in terms of part of their educational completeness, where the intern program will be substantial for that. So I just wanted to put that out there for someone just in case if they wanted to check into that. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Bond, I did have another question regarding the special services. We have a lot of contract employees beside the ones that we are hoping to hire in-house. When will we be reaching out to those providers to let them know if we need their services and get them on board? Because I know this is the time where a lot of times they service multiple districts, and those that have worked well for our students, I would like us to be able to be proactive in retaining them as opposed to waiting and then they have accepted assignments elsewhere.
Yes, well, the positions that we have been employing temporarily through either EduStaff or some other agency, I just got those contracts and I will be reaching out to them. I've already talked to the people at EduStaff, and so some of the positions that we were using a regular sub, and those subs were working out really well for us. If now we might have a position that we can put them in permanently, we're going to just try to fill the position that way, because it obviously will save us a lot of effort and time. The ones that we have contracts currently, I will reach out to them individually, because some of those are individual contracts, either with them or through an agency. And so I have to find out what the terms of those contracts are, if they will let us hire them directly. And if they won't, and we have to keep paying this premium price, it's also in a violation of our local agreement. So I'm going to have to figure out how to find someone else, and that's why they're posted. Because if I have to go out and find someone else, then I'm just going to be forced to do that. I would love to be able to just hire the people that we have been using, that we like, and that we know already. So.
And I'm sorry, Lane, I did have one more question. When you were talking about the CTE instructors, do they need to have teaching certification? It was my understanding that they did not have to have that, but they did have, if they were here so many years, to obtain.
It's a cosmetology training. It's a cosmetology teaching certification.
Right.
It's not a teaching certification. It's a cosmetology teacher training certification.
Okay.
And that's true with all the CTE positions.
Correct.
You can't just have experience. You have to have some education in instructional training.
Sure.
In order to get a certification.
Right. But if they have that certification, they don't also need a teaching certification, just in their field, correct? Okay.
Correct.
So right now, how many instructors do we need for our CTE program for fall? And are we hiring for CTE?
Well, for sure, we have to have 2 for cosmetology, which I see that I spelled wrong, cosmetology and barbering. So those 2 we will need, but we're also doing a survey that Nicole was sending out to find out how many students, because before we actually put an offer out there to hire a teacher, we want to make sure that it's money well spent and that we have students that are going to be in the class. So, you need to have a minimum number of students to make the course worthwhile.
I'm sorry, in which course? In which class?
Cosmetology and barbering.
Oh, I thought we had already confirmed that before we spent $50,000 on chairs.
Yes, we still have to do our due diligence. I mean, we
right, but I mean, like, are we like still in contact with those students who are interested so that we don't lose them? Because I know there was that interest. I want to make sure
there was initially interest, but that's like a year ago now. So now we need to verify that these students are going to be in this class. So.
And I know we talked about marketing to our middle school students, correct? And letting them know what CTE offerings that the high school will have, and kind of creating that interest and exposure while they're in middle school.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Kennard. I'm thinking that there should be some form of survey for all of our CTE courses to find out what our students are interested in, just not for 2 cosmetologists and barbers. It should go out to the entire CTE program.
Right.
You're right. These are all things that are in the works. And, we have, again, it goes to, what's happening at the high school right now on top of COVID planning. So COVID kind of became the emergency. And so, with that, everything else is happening at the same time. And so, I mean, this is just this is a cycle that continues as we build that CTE department and have a CTE director. This is the type of work that a director would do. And we have not had a director in over 10 years. So all of these things are baby steps, and
Right.
finding people to do things that are not, that are not their thing, to try to make all of this work. So it's in process.
My question is, if we didn't have a director who was overseeing the CTE program over the years, and how was that being, how are we reviewing, how was it being done who was overseeing this whole entire CTE program if we didn't have a director? Is it under the superintendent or building administrators, or what was the district's procedure in this process?
So I'm going to say that at the 29th, on the 29th, is that our next board, 27th, excuse me. Dr. Harlan is going to come in and do a presentation, a full-on presentation about our CTE program and where it has been and where it needs to go. Part of the work, I'm going to send you guys an update, but part of the work, in addition to all of this that is being done, is I've been in communication with him, and we are having to take on some recommendations. He has some recommendations for us to pull this program in line and to begin to take it forward. That has to be done now. It has to start now, and it has to be continued. So we will hear from Dr. Harlan at the next official board meeting, and delve deeper into the CTE program.
Okay, thank you.
There's no more questions for Ms. Bond. We're going to move forward. Are there any more questions for Ms. Bond? Okay. We're going to move forward. Report of the board president. Ms. Rudolph actually covered those things during her portion, so we are thankful of that. But it was put on the agenda because we wanted to make sure that we had dates and deadlines for all of our outstanding bids. So thank you, Ms. Rudolph. At this point in time, we're going to move forward with the communications and expressions from the public. This is an open public comment, not limited to any agenda item, but whatever you so choose to share with the board and or the public. Limited to 3 minutes, no attacks, please. The floor is open. If you choose to share, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Hi, this is Sue Evans.
Hi, Sue. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Very good. This floor is yours.
Okay, I have a few comments and questions. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the board on settling the REA contract in advance of it or ahead of it expiring. However, I still don't see the school calendar on the internet, and it has been several months since it was settled. So I'm wondering when people can expect to see it, because I am getting phone calls about it. Secondly, recruiting. You know, that's a little bit of a touchy subject with me. When I was working in the schools, part of the responsibilities for secretaries was recruiting. And the secretaries weren't called back to work. So I'm just wondering where this fell through the cracks. Because how many kids do we think we lost by secretaries not following up, not at their own, I'm not saying it's their fault. They weren't called back to work. From what I'm gathered, what I've heard, how many families did we lose by not having secretaries answering the phones, calling people that, hey, do you have any family members that we can call to get your cousins in, your sister's kids? Where did we fall short of this? It's really concerning to me that we did lose children. We are months behind the surrounding areas, months. So with that one, that's what I've got to say about the recruiting. Sodexo, they are serving other districts surrounding us. I know that for a fact. I know people that are picking up lunches every week. Why are we not being served by by Sodexo. And I hear that they didn't have employees. When did our contract end with them? Because I thought it went from September to September. So with that said, and then there was a comment made that we were going to, we were talking about when we come back to school and classrooms being up to 33 kids. Really? That statement put a little bit of a thorn in some parents' side because we shouldn't have classrooms of 33. Not in today's day and age. We should have small classrooms. And I know the money isn't there to allow for half of the amount of kids in a classroom, but we need to figure out how we're going to provide healthy education. If it's every other day for kids, there's got to be something we can do. But 33 kids in a classroom is totally unacceptable in today's day and age. And then last but not least, comments about the cosmetology and the barber. I thought that program was voted on, maybe not at the last meeting, but at one of the meetings it was discussed that that program was put on hold because we didn't even know if we had the interest to fill those classrooms and make it worth our while. So there's a few items that I would like some feedback on, emails, what have you, or open comments right now. But there's some concerns that I have about things that's happening.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. And if we could take note of all of Ms. Evans, inquiries and have some answers for her by the next meeting, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Evans.
I look forward to the communication.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Miss
No
Evans,
problem.
do we have her
Yes.
email address by any chance?
I can give it to you.
Okay.
It's S as in Susan, M as in Mary, Evitts at Yahoo. Real easy.
2 T's, EVITTS?
Yes, at Yahoo.
Is that you or the other Sue Evitts? Is that the right one? Seriously?
I hope so. It's hard to believe there's another Sue Evitts in this world, isn't it? Thank you very much.
Let me just double check again now that you said that, Ms. Piles. SM Evitts, EVITTS at yahoo.com.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. The floor is open. If there's additional members from the public that would like to share at this time, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and the floor is yours. We'll wait just a few moments out of respect for the public. Again, if there's anybody that would like to share, the floor is open. Okay, we're going to move into the board member portion of the agenda. I'll go on a quick roll call. Ms. Terrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had one comment, and just for a matter of record, as far as the board packets is concerned, I did reach out and ask if we could have a link sent with the board packet information. And I would like to the suggestion that we do receive the board packet no later than Thursday so that we can do research, but also, the saving, cost saving measures that we've talked about, and know that we're getting away from printing. but I would like to receive the PDFs along with the supporting documentation in an email, so that I can begin, and I'm quite sure other board members would appreciate it as well. Begin research. If I need to make some contacts, I'll have enough time to do that prior to our board meeting, so that sometimes they require that you make phone calls and you're waiting on responses back. And if we receive it on a Friday or a Saturday, you don't have an opportunity to actually get the feedback that you're looking for prior to our meeting on Monday, especially if you're working full time and in another place of employment. So if we could please receive our board packets, it just allows us to make informed decisions. If we could receive it in a timely manner. I also would like to say that I truly appreciate all of the work, all of the hard work that all of our board members have been, board and central staff have been working on to make sure that the needs of our district are taken care of. And as I always say, if you haven't had an opportunity to participate in the lost my wording. If you haven't had an opportunity to participate in the 2020 yes. Please do, so that because those funds do benefit the entire district. It benefits our communities, and we want to make sure that we're participating in the census so that we can receive those funds. We're not left out. Everybody needs to participate. And so let your household be counted. And then, of course, continue to practice safe measures. We did receive in the course of this meeting an alert. Prior to the meeting starting, we received an alert from the governor's office concerning wearing face coverings and making sure that everyone that is coming in and out of our buildings, are made aware that they do have to wear face coverings while they're in the buildings. And also, there was a Amber Alert that was sent out. If you haven't had an opportunity to review that, you might want to take a look at that. And of course, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Terrell. Ms. Beard?
I think she clicked the wrong button. I just saw. Yep, she did. Here she.
Oh, there she is.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't have anything. I'm just a little comment on to what Ms. Terrell was saying about the board packets. Our board packets have been an issue for years and years and years, and I wish we could figure out a way that we could get our packets early with all the attachments to it on Fridays, Thursday night, Fridays. But I do know that that's a goal that everybody that's been in that job has tried to meet. And I don't know if we've ever hit that goal yet. It'll be one to strive for.
We have streaks.
Pardon me?
I said we have streaks.
Yes, we do. We do. And I think under the current circumstances with everything that's going on with COVID, and I think everything is constantly changing. So in regards to the COVID, I appreciate all the work that's being done with central office and the task force. I think are excellent ideas because we're getting our stakeholders involved. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of the updates from the task forces as we get ready to go into the fall. I have a lot of concerns. I've sent my concerns to Ms. Crockett and some questions I had, and there are probably a lot of the same questions that a lot of people are asking. And so I'll be waiting to hear, how things go with the meetings at RISA, because I think RISA will be giving a lot of the districts the guidance that we need, and working with that template also.
As they get it from the state.
As they get it from the state, correct. And also MASB also had a very good webinar that was on. I didn't see it live. I watched it on YouTube, where they talked to Governor Whitmer, and they also had two board members. One was from Okemos, and the other one was I can't think of her name. We all know her. She's Anu from Plymouth Canton. They are on the state advisory council and working with the governor on the back to school information, and it is ever changing. And Miss Crockett's right. It's all going to depend on what phase we're in. So I'm asking everybody to please be safe. Please wear your mask. I know a lot of people don't like them. I don't like them. But I do have some very vulnerable members in my family, and we're going to do what we can at my house to keep ourselves safe as well as other people. So wear your masks, and we'll hopefully get through this. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Beard. Ms. Wester?
I concur with both what Ms. Terrell and Ms. Beard said. Just stay safe, everyone, and wear your mask.
Thank you, Ms. Wester. Ms. Funderburk?
I just had a question about our summer hours at the board office, and if we could post those, please.
Thank you, Ms. Funderburk. Ms. Piles?
Yes, I also was going to ask about the summer hours, what they are, and if we could, because I was asked, and I'm not sure what they are, but if we could post those on the website and Facebook, and just if we could have them also, that would be great, so we can pass that information on. Also, the school calendar, if we get that on the website, I don't know at what point that'll get mailed out, but I know a lot of families were looking for it last year. And last year we had the contract, and we had I'm saying not the contract, but we had new HR director, and there were a lot of factors that went into that. So I am glad that we are ahead of the game this year, and we have that. So if we could please get that out. And then the only thing I wanted to say is tonight, as I looked through the board packet, and we saw the resignation of Dr. Jamie Nelson, and the retirement of Todd Marlette and Judy Fretner, and then the due to budget cuts, the layoff of Dawn Jameson and Mark Woodson. And when you look at those 5 names, it's 5 names, but the contributions that they individually made in this district and the investments they made in our students, we could not number those. And when we're happy for people when they retire, or they have other opportunities, but every time we lose a member of this family, there is a loss. And when I look at these 5 names, I want to thank them, each of them, for everything that they did during their time here at Romulus Community Schools, for the impact they made on our students, and for the benefits that our students will receive long after their RCS students, and long after these people have left. So thank you, all 5 of you, for everything that you have done while you were here, and you will be missed.
Thank you, Ms. Piles. Ms. Kennard?
Thank you. As being last, everyone has said everything practically that I had on my list. So I concur with what that was already been stated. But I also want to say just congratulations. It was a wonderful accomplishment for our students that successfully completed the associate's degree while completing a high school diploma. Kudos go to all of you. And also, I'd like to also welcome to our school district, Dr. Hicks. We look forward to working with you. And a couple of things for our interim superintendent. I know we have talked about the COVID phases and the safety standards and the updates and so forth. And how we're doing it for our students and the staff and administration. But we also want to make sure that those in central office, are practicing those safe phases and standards as well, and hopefully that they are they're following some guidelines where they're safe and they stay healthy as well. And so I haven't been in the central office, but want to make sure that you guys are safe and healthy as well there too. And if at all possible, the response to the recommendation, the request from Ms. Everett, if you could CC the board on it, also with the response, we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard. And very briefly, I just wanted to clarify my vote regarding our action items of construction. I'm excited about all the construction being done at Romulus High School, Hell Creek, and in all of our buildings. I'm big on compliance, and I want to make sure that any vote that I take is 100% compliant. With lawfully compliant first, but as it relates to my inquiry regarding the union vote, I do understand that it's illegal to discriminate based upon union or non-union, but it's not illegal to or improper to inquire, which was my inquiry. And it's no secret I am very supportive of our brothers and sisters within our local unions, whether it be REA or any other. With that being stated, the vote passed, and I'm excited about the construction moving forward. But also as it relates to the roofing piece, it was an emergency. It was deemed emergency. It was no bid. I'm not really a fan of no bid contracts, and that was the reason for my vote. Again, I'm very excited, but I just want to be fully compliant in anything that I vote on. And that's just my nature. So just wanted to clarify that. Other than that, I want to, again, congratulations to all of our early college grads. Salute and thank you to our staff as far as our retirees and our, those that are not going to be with us next year. Thankful for the contributions you've made to our district. Just everybody stay safe and God bless. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Supported by Ms. Piles. Roll call, please.
Wester, yes. Piles,
Yes.
Terrell.
Yes.
Beard,
Yes.
Kennard,
Yes.
Thunderbird,
Yes.
Martell,
Yes.
807.
Oh, real quick, there's a meeting next Monday. See you guys then. Stay safe. God bless.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody. Enjoy some sunshine.
Oh, plenty of